think one of the big gating issues was whether managements in this space would want to sell their companies down here, because they've really lagged, particularly recently, the rally in oil prices. And so I think what you're seeing with this deal, and maybe the reason why the space is participating too, isn't necessarily because now there's all of a sudden a new universe of buyers to consolidate the space, but because you've got willing sellers now with the lag in the sector. And so I think that was actually the big overhang that was lifted with the announcement. And it certainly makes sense that Chevron stock was the preferred currency here, because it's going to allow Anadarko shareholders to participate in the ongoing growth of the asset base. So if managements are willing to pull the trigger and open the door for consolidation from the seller side, then that's probably the big news of the day.
Sam, it's interesting you're describing this as the willingness of companies to sell and the attraction to Chevron stock, which of course has outperformed the industry, but over the last 5 years is only up 2%. So is it really that much more compelling than a higher cash offer? Why would Anadarko say no to having that cash, having that higher price today?
Well, we don't know the timing of the earlier offer. It could have been a long time ago, and so that's one thing. It seems like this came together relatively recently. I think, Chevron, like all the companies in the major oil peer group, keeps a screen of logical acquisitions with industrial logic to combine. Anadarko was probably very high on that screen for a long time, but it could only be in the very recent history that it made sense to come together. And so I think timing probably plays the biggest role. In terms of why Chevron is the right operator for these assets, though, I'd point to one project that Anadarko had in the portfolio, the Mozambique LNG project. This is going to be one of the biggest undertakings in the world in oil and gas. Chevron has experience in the LNG space. That might make them unique from some of the other potential bidders for Anadarko. And so when it comes to pulling that project over the finish line, I think that might have given Chevron the edge a little bit.
Who else was vying for this asset, Sam? And was this a sewn-up deal once Chevron got into it? In other words, can you hunch that Anadarko always had its eye on Chevron? Who else was vying, and was it kind of locked up?
So if Anadarko's selection as an acquirer was based on who can execute Mozambique and then also their Permian Basin assets, that would put really the oil majors in the lead. So it's a small universe of companies that could do that. I think in the Permian Basin, what's interesting about the overlap between Chevron and Anadarko is that their land is literally right next to each other. Chevron's land in the Permian Basin sort of goes around Anadarko. So now you form a contiguous plot there. And so there's some synergies to capture just based on the fact that now this big block of land in the Permian Basin is connected by one owner.